From an overworked Malaysian truck driver who fell asleep and flipped his rig, and an underground explosion in China that sent dozens of manhole covers flying into the air, to a close call in Lancashire, England that launched this compact car onto its side, and a Russian crane operator who must have forgotten the meaning of low clearance, here are 10 more terrifying moments caught on Dashcam. Lancaster, England is a small city in Lancashire. It's home to about 55,000 people, including one of the calmest car crash victims you'll ever meet. It was early January of 2016. Christopher Telford was heading home in his 3-door Toyota Yaris when he decided to test out his new head-mounted camera. To him, the gorgeous English countryside would make the perfect first video. Little did he know, he was about to capture the closest call of his life.
Well, that was scary. Dear. I'm uninjured. I'm uninjured. Let me.
Not sorry.
Okay, no anger, no anger. Let's just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's just take this calmly.
Now that might be the most British reaction to something we have ever seen. According to Christopher, he was traveling around 60 miles per hour, which abided by the posted speed limit. As he topped the blind hill, he saw the BMW trying to pass someone in the opposite lane. But instead of slowing down, the BMW seemed to speed up, trying to beat Christopher's Toyota. Understandably, Christopher panicked and slammed his brakes, only for them to lock up and send his car into a slide. He turned left, hit the wall, and wound up on his side moments later. Luckily, his compact car absorbed the brunt of the damage. He only walked away with minor bumps, scrapes, and bruises. Police handled things with the BMW driver, and Christopher enjoyed a laugh and a spot of tea with one of his neighbors. Anshan, China is a prefecture-level city in southeastern Liaoning province. It's home to about 3.3 million people, all of whom rely on the same sewage system to get rid of their, shall we say, undesirables. As you can imagine, plenty of methane gas lurks beneath the streets. On August 17th of 2024, a local man was driving along when all that methane allegedly exploded underground. Lucky for us, his dashcam was rolling and captured the whole thing. Keep your eye on the trees lining the right side of the road. Everything seems normal until, boom! An underground explosion sends dozens of manhole covers flying into the air. Smoke, debris, and God knows what billow up from the openings. We cannot begin to imagine how bad it must have smelled. But this is only the beginning of their problems. Seconds after the explosion, manhole covers begin raining down on the cars. Watch how close this one comes to hitting the white car. It bounces like a 250-pound basketball and lands safely on the other side. Imagine if it landed on their roof. Cell phone footage of the immediate aftermath shows how much damage the explosion actually caused.
完了。
这马路，哎我操！完了这房子干塌了，我操！
哎，哎呀！我操，这一家。
这没盖住。这地上了。那为啥不能煤气关了呢？对，直接干塌了。
According to local officials, nobody was hurt during the blast. They aren't giving any direct answers about what caused the explosion. However, methane buildup seems to be the most plausible scenario. Some have even suggested foul play and human involvement. All 50 U.S. states have move-over laws. These require drivers to slow down and change lanes whenever they see an emergency vehicle, such as a fire truck, cop car, or ambulance, pulled over on the shoulder. Unfortunately, many American drivers are unaware of these laws and how they keep emergency workers safe. On January 18th of 2024, Oklahoma State Trooper Jesse Gregory became the poster boy for move-over laws. He was conducting a routine traffic stop on the side of I-40 when, all of a sudden, his life flashed before his eyes.
Not taking you to jail. Let you drive off.
By an absolute miracle, Trooper Gregory walked away from the accident with only minor injuries. Both drivers were also okay and were released from the hospital that day. Trooper Gregory thanked God for saving his life. When asked if he had a message for other drivers, he said, "When you see us, please slow down." Something similar happened to another highway patrol officer in Utah. Only this time, it involved two semi-trucks, one of which was carrying about 1,000 pounds of eggs. It was March 2nd of 2022. Our Utah trooper had just pulled over a semi-truck on I-80 for, ironically, move-over violations. This officer is lucky he approached from the passenger side. Had he gone around to the driver, well, he'd rather not think about it.
My location. 436, we have a 1050 rollover, semi blocking both lanes. Expedite fire. Got lane shut down.
20339 act. Copy. Can you advise 173 if he's not aware already?
10-4173, do you copy?
I copy. I'm in route.
436, semi is in the median. It is on fire and we have small explosions going off.
10-4.
Semi appears have been transporting eggs.
Thankfully, everyone involved lived to tell the tale. The truckers he initially pulled over were okay, and the egg truck driver walked away with a few bumps and bruises. As for the people in the black SUV, they suffered some significant injuries, but were treated at a Salt Lake Valley hospital. This clip and the one before are exactly why you should move over for emergency vehicles. China is no stranger to rock slides and landslides. The mountainous terrain and subtropical climate means one can strike anywhere at any time. The people are used to it and can typically recognize the signs, but that doesn't mean one won't catch them off guard. It was August 20th of 2023. Locals outside Ya'an, China, a prefecture-level city in Sichuan province, were driving along a winding road when the rocks began falling. Our driver was lucky enough to avoid the landslide, but we can't say the same for the people in the blue car. Let's see that one more time in slow motion. The initial landslide blocked the blue car and stopped it from escaping. However, our driver turns before we see the second wave. Judging by the aftermath, we can only assume that something massive landed on the blue car's roof. According to Chinese authorities, all 6 passengers inside the blue car were rescued after the landslide. You can see one of them being carried away in this picture here. It's hard to imagine what they were going through. Just look at how mangled their car is. While first responders cared for the passengers, cleanup crews arrived to deal with the debris. They're used to this kind of thing by now and likely reopened the road within a day after the landslide. Saratov, Russia is a closed town, meaning that people coming and going need explicit permission from local authorities. These towns typically house sensitive military assets or secret research projects the Russian government wants to keep under tight control. In the case of Saratov, it acts as Russia's center for nuclear research. Now, people in a nuclear research town are typically smart enough to understand low clearance signs. This crane driver was not one of those people. On April 29th of 2019, he nearly took out a passing driver when his crane arm destroyed an overhead structure. Lucky for us, that driver caught the whole thing on his dash cam. Luckily, the structure missed our driver's car by a few feet. Looking closely at the truck, you can see where the red crate prevented the crane arm from coming down. Someone must have gotten lazy and loaded this shipment onto the wrong truck. Before it left, that person likely shrugged and said, "What could possibly go wrong?" On April 3rd of 2024, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck south of Hualien City in Taiwan. It was the strongest quake to hit the island since the 1999 Gigi earthquake and produced several aftershocks measuring above 6.0 in magnitude. The tremor left a few buildings leaning at precarious angles. One of those structures was a 30-year-old building that housed several apartments and a breakfast bar on the ground floor. Happy Moments Cafe was a hot spot for coffee and a quick morning bite. It was busy the morning the earthquake struck. Those inside owe the owner their lives. Those on the ground floor may have escaped, but several families were still trapped in the apartments above.
里面还有人吗？哎，那个不要摸那个电线，很危险。不要摸电线。
Now let's rewind and watch how close these people came to being flattened like pancakes. According to reports, the owner sprung into action when the ground began shaking. He ushered 17 people out the door, with the last one stumbling out about 2 seconds before the building collapsed. Thanks to the owner's quick thinking, nobody inside the cafe was hurt. Unfortunately, his business was a total loss, as were many others affected by the April earthquake. The following video from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, should serve as a gentle reminder to always wear your helmet. You may be the best biker in the world, but you still can't predict the behavior of others. It was November 3rd of 2021. Traffic was moving steadily along the Cyberjaya Expressway in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia's largest city. A local man was driving along when a semi-truck pulled ahead of him. It was impossible not to notice the loose-fitting tarp. Was this real life or a scene from Final Destination? Judging by what happened next, we're leaning toward the latter. Forget about the first scooter rider you see. He makes it safely around the truck and drives off, blissfully unaware of the danger he just avoided. A few moments later, another scooter carrying 2 people approaches and tails behind the semi. Meanwhile, the tarp blows like Batman's cape in the wind. It comes loose, wraps around them, and blinds the driver. They veer left, and the driver tries to course correct, but it's too late. The scooter falls, and both riders slide on the pavement. Thankfully, their helmets prevented them from suffering a significant brain injury. Bikers and scooter riders, listen up. Always wear your protective gear. You never know when it'll come in handy. On August 29th of 2021, Hurricane Ida made landfall in southern Louisiana. The Category 4 storm was among the strongest and most destructive hurricanes to hit the U.S. since Katrina. Ironically, it happened on the same day as Katrina, only 16 years later. Powerful winds and torrential rains battered the Louisiana coast. Authorities issued evacuation orders, with some people retreating to sturdy parking garages to weather the storm. That's where this Kia driver found himself as Ida made landfall. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to venture out to see if it was as bad as they were saying. Spoiler alert, it was. He should have taken that near miss as a sign from the Almighty. Turn around, Mr. Kia driver. Things are about to go from bad to worse.
No.
Our driver made it a few more feet before his Kia began floating. At this point, he could only pray he didn't get washed out to sea. Unfortunately, the video ends before we learn his fate. Luckily, he survived the ordeal after making it to a nearby garage. He remained there for 3 hours as 100-mile-per-hour winds smashed the walls and ripped off the garage door. That's when he saw a pair of headlights coming and was able to flag down the driver. They were likely driving a heavy-duty truck better equipped to handle rough conditions. In the end, our Kia driver learned why we say curiosity killed the cat. Shah Alam, Malaysia, which roughly translates to ruler of the universe, is a bustling city and the capital of Selangor State. It's home to about 740,000 people and a sleepy truck driver who could use a day off. To get through his long shifts, this 33-year-old driver relies on a popular recreational drug called Yaba. It's essentially the Southeast Asian equivalent of methamphetamine. When the drug kicks in, users feel a burst of energy and euphoria. When it wears off, they tend to crash and burn, literally. When police arrived, they determined that the driver had fallen asleep at the wheel. However, they know how popular Yaba is among long-haul truckers. They tested his urine, and sure enough, it came back positive for methamphetamine. According to the UN, Yaba was first introduced to Southeast Asia toward the end of World War II. It was meant to enhance the soldiers' performance in the Pacific Theater, similar to how the Nazis used Pervitin, which is basically crystal meth. Hopefully, this trucker will stick to coffee from now on, assuming he gets his license back. Dongguan, China is a prefecture-level city in the middle of Guangdong province. As an important industrial city in the Pearl River Delta, you'd think their infrastructure would be top-notch. Unfortunately, you'd be wrong. Sinkholes are common in China. The wet climate, paired with random landslides, earthquakes, and substandard construction, leads to frequent disasters on the crowded streets. Take this video from mid-July of 2024, for example. As the van pulls forward, you can see the ground beginning to dip. That elderly man is lucky he stepped out of the way in time. Judging by the red barriers, local authorities had some indication that a sinkhole was about to open. They just didn't know when. Various cell phone clips from around the area show how big the hole was compared to its surroundings. Thankfully, nobody fell in or was hurt when the ground collapsed. According to a local cleanup company, soil erosion formed an underground cavity, ultimately triggering the cave-in. Luckily, they have plenty of sinkhole experience and said the road would be cleaned and reopened within 36 hours. Have you ever looked at a decrepit house and thought, yep, that thing's bound to collapse? Well, that's what these Russian people were thinking as they drove by a rundown building off the side of a busy street. It was December 13th of 2021. Traffic was moving steadily in Saratov, the largest city within the Saratov Oblast. One local man had his dashcam rolling when he passed one of those old ruined buildings. What happened next shouldn't have come as a surprise to anyone.
На ту сторону перейдете? Блять, сука, нахуй, ебучая, блять,
It seems like the white car bore the brunt of the collapse. Several people, including our driver and passenger, walked over to help. They opened the door and pulled the driver out of the car. Hopefully, they weren't banged up too badly. Now let's rewind to moments before the collapse. Look at how close these two people came to getting flattened. Imagine if they were wearing headphones or just not paying attention. Nobody would have emerged from under that rubble alive. It's unclear why that building was left standing, and we don't know who was responsible for taking it down. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.